The 1920 turn in review. Lots of command per usual. See the allies at Quatre Bras are ready to move on the right. The French are trying to reposition some cavalry there. Over at Ligny, going to move the First Corps forward. And largely we're going to be attacking with the Guard against the Second Corps. And the French and the Prussians are ready to move here on the eastern side. The French draw first. And they're going to launch a very massive cavalry charge here on the east side. Going to see the 4th Corps Cavalry begin to charge, fail to stand, and pursue that battalion, inflicting casualties. The other battalion did form square. See a circuitous path by that square in order to hit the guns there on the right. Another charge against the guns there. Those guns were standing. This battalion failed to form square. Started to retreat, and we see some cascading retreats going on. Going to see some more charges. Failed to stand. Recall. Choose another target. Another circuitous route that hits the guns, and they fail to stand. Manage a recall. Chose the next target. Fail to stand. These guys will rout. And that's the end of the charge there. The defensive fire of the guns took their toll on the charging French cavalry. But when they drive home their melees, destroyed one battery, inflict multiple casualties, effectively destroying another battery. And the next melee results in a place grand disorder, destroying that battery. And you see the path of the charges and retreats, including the cascading retreats that drove back battalions across the stream. And all the Prussians lost 5 batteries there. Offensive fire, Prussians lost another leader. Otherwise, we just see casualties spread along the line here at Quatre Bras, and many here at Ligny, including some suppression of the Grand Battery that's important. And the Prussians do get some more casualties with the remaining guns there. The assaults come, and the French are able to rout a battalion here. But on the plus side, there was no cascading retreat. Now this is the attack of the Young Guard. The 1st Young Guard regiment, full regiment, fails to pre-melee morale check and has to retreat. The next Guard units are a little better. They force a disorder and a retreat. Fail to stand and a cascading retreat. The next one fails to stand, and I incorrectly destroyed the battalion because I thought they had nowhere to retreat. It turns out they do, and I'll fix that mistake later. Try to balance it out. Next to draw is the Prussians, or the Allies really, and the Prussians will begin with a charge. This is cavalry on the east side going against the 1st Reserve Cavalry. Cavalry on cavalry can be a little anticlimactic sometimes, but we do have a retreat before combat and some casualties. Here on the Quatre Bras field, we're going to see some casualties from fires and retreats. Same at Ligny. And some pretty big casualties and retreats for the French cavalry there. Now the Prussians are going to counterattack with the Landwehr. They're going to have pretty good results here. Casualties, morale check, force the French back, fail to stand, forces the French back. Here's oh no, that was a melee that forced the French back. Here's some melees that were blank results and finally resulted in the French retreat after 2 rounds. A fail to stand, or fail to go drive it home. Here we have the Prussians just pushing back some skirmishing cavalry. They did manage to destroy that battery. So fairly good. Now we'll go on to the activity chits. Regroup, leaders. These are usually fairly benign. The reinforcements see more of the French First Corps arriving at Ligny. The artillery chit is drawn. The Grand Battery doesn't have much that isn't suppressed. They do get one casualty against the Prussian guns. At the end of the turn, kind of see not a lot of movement there at Quatre Bras. The Ligny, the main force is the guard attacking, and largely the dragoons charging upset the balance there on the right side. The 1940 turn, plenty of command as always. Still, the British are trying hard to move on their right. The French are still trying to move their third corps and attack. The Guard and the fourth corps, whereas the reserve cavalry is still in a position to push back at the Prussians. And this time the Allies get the first draw. And they decide on another charge. That's going to be fairly successful, and they're going to be able to push back some units. They recalled and failed to stand there, with a pursuit inflicting quite a few casualties. The next charge is going to force some squares, but they're actually going to ride around the squares, braving the opportunity fire, and hit that battalion in the rear. They actually stood, but they went to melee and suffered plus Grand disorder. But I made a mistake. I should have treated them the other direction there. More leader casualties during defensive and offensive fires. Smattering of casualties at Quatre Bras. Quite a large number of casualties still at Ligny. The attacks here at Quatre Bras against the skirmishing cavalry just pushed them back. More counterattacks against the French, pushing them back. I retreated that and caused some cascading failures. Another attack here determined that battalion needed to die, but that was just a make-up call. These next melees were blank results, resulting in casualties, but then a retreat by the Prussians. But what the heck? I can't advance the French when they're in defense. That was an error. So one more attack there. And the Prussians are still pushing hard at the skirmishing cavalry. The next ship actually was the reinforcements, not the French. See, the French get some leaders and the beginnings of the 4th Division. That's 1st Cavalry Brigade. And a regroup, another action kit, before the French finally get their chance to move. And they're going to charge. What else? They've got that Lancer, and they break down a battalion, pursue them, and they retreat. Another cavalry charge there against that lone battalion. Goes to melee, forces them to disorder, and retreat. The French are not done over there at Ligny. They're going to charge the rest of that cavalry. First, a failure to form square, retreat, and cascading retreats after the pursuit. Another charge causes retreats and a failure to stand. Moving around those guns, we chased off the ammunition battery and then pursued that battalion. So now the remaining guns of the Prussians have no actually they do have one, but they're going to chase away that next ammunition wagon there. Chasing around that square, routed that infantry. Now they routed that ammunition wagon, recalled and went to the next target, causing a rout and a pursuit. The final positions after the retreats and the charges. Plenty of casualties here at Quatre Bras in the fire phases, and quite a few here at Ligny, including the Grand Battery getting plenty of shots off. Huge casualties there, and a little bit of artillery fire there. But now they're going to counterattack that 5th and 6th Brigade, causing retreats and disorders. And now I'm retreating through zones of influence and regardless of the retreat rules, because apparently that's what I'm supposed to do. So I switch over here to the guard, the young guard making their attack. They're having pretty good success here. Failures to stand are now retreating. And the last assault here is going to cause casualties, but no retreats. Now this is the guard, the old guard, grenadiers. I probably should have done a guard charge, and I just sort of forgot about that rule. But these three units are going to hit this one regiment and have pretty good success. They're going to be routing or disordering all three of those battalions, and with some cascading retreats. See, the Prussian line is kind of blown up there in front of the guard. Next activity chits are going to be leaders, and then the Grand Battery will get to fire one more time, inflicting heavy casualties on the Prussian guns as well as some infantry there. End of the turn, we see some morale levels. Second Corps with their Quatre Bras, First Corps and Second Corps for the Prussians. Then the British are still on their morale level 1. Final positions are seeing the British surge, pushing hard on the French left. The First Corps is coming on, but not doing a lot of damage yet. Good attack by the Third Corps there, and the Guard. Grand Battery, and yet another charge, completely sweeping away the Prussians there. There was some real back and forth on both fields these last two turns, certainly here at Quatre Bras. We saw the charge of the Dutch-Belgian cavalry sweep aside some of those feeble French battalions. Then the infantry march up behind them, hopefully to form a strong line, only to watch the French lancers charge and clear out some of the British units. So now there's kind of a gap in the line here. Wellington will have to ride into some enemy territory here to try to activate units. But otherwise, it is looking pretty strong for the British. They were able to come down off their morale level. Still morale level 1, but no more morale penalties. So they should be able to affect some changes down here on this side of the line. The French are pretty weak in infantry, though they're trying to shift some of their 9th Division to help. They're counting on the terrain of this mass of woods to slow the British down enough that they will be able to respond with cavalry if necessary. This looks like a line of troops here, but really they're so thin that a few shots would break them. But that's all they have against the French 5th Division here. Additionally, they have these heavy cavalry. We saw a charge by that cavalry, just knocking back one of the lingering British battalions. As it turns out, one of their stronger ones, so losing some casualties there was rough. The French are in pretty good shape here still. This side of the line is strong right up to about here. These two squares are a little vulnerable right now. They have plenty of artillery and pretty good infantry. It's only when you get to here that it falls apart completely. But with the light cavalry in skirmish mode, it should be able to slow down the British Guards enough so that perhaps this cavalry can deploy. The First Corps continues to arrive here at Ligny. Have the 1st and 2nd Divisions, then the Light Cavalry Brigade here, some artillery. But they are gaining some strength and some position here on the very vulnerable Prussian right flank. They have a massive cavalry, but nothing else to back it up. And more importantly, little or no command to really do much of anything with it over here. That's not where the bulk of the fighting is going to be anyway. It's going to be here on the right flank in the villages. There was quite a bit of attack and counterattack. The French started to make themselves known. The 6th Brigade came in, pushed back. The 5th Brigade, Landwehr even, had some very successful attacks. But then the French recommitted the 10th and 8th Divisions. And those attacks were really strong and caused quite a bit of disruption to the Prussian lines. We're kind of seeing some of the historical aspects play out. It's been kind of fun watching give and take in a fairly brief period of time. Also watching the Prussian reserves just get slurped up and sucked into this area here. But the great fun has been here in the center. The Guard is finally starting to attack. The Prussian artillery was able to keep the Grand Battery somewhat suppressed, but this last turn they opened fire with the full force and just cut a swath. Have come close to whacking the rest of the Prussian artillery. There's one battery here. And the infantry has taken such horrible casualties that they fell back in disarray. And the Landwehr that was behind them also retreated. So that kind of cascading retreat has been very, very damaging to the Prussian position here. It's getting very thin. We have 2 disorder battalions. That's only a leader by himself. 1 battalion, some guns, and another battalion, and that's it in this whole area right there. Otherwise, they are completely helpless. The 7th Brigade has been sucked into this area. When the leader was killed, that was a big hurt for them. They were kind of out of commission for one turn. Got an ADC in there, and then were promptly attacked by the Young Guard, who had better luck this time. They knocked back a couple of battalions. Hopefully I observed the correct retreat rules in through here. After balancing the ledger with one more inaccurate retreat, I went ahead and started doing it correctly. And we find ourselves kind of with the Guard having attacked here and here, and then the Chasseurs here, ready to wipe out the center of the Prussian line. Ligny is still completely unscathed. The citizenry would be very happy with that. And then on the far eastern side, we saw another massive cavalry charge and another massive breakdown of the Prussians. Just when the Prussians seemed like they had some momentum, unleashed those dragoons and swept them back, and there's basically nothing left of this 12th Brigade or the Prussian artillery. Now they still have the 9th and the 11th in very good position back there, but the command situation is such that it's going to be next to impossible to effect another attack over here. We're probably looking at taking a defensive posture only. I mean, not sure what the next turns will bring, but aggressive Prussian action looks unlikely over here. Similarly for this area here, the 10th Brigade seemed to make good progress, got across the stream, pushed back some cavalry, but then a cavalry charge put them on their heels, retreated. Now they will be, well, out of command in a couple of places and then routed here. So very tough position over here on the right. Attack and counterattack has been favoring the French.